Hello, fellow book-loving friends. Thank you for joining me for Spill the Tea with Dee Book Chat. Go ahead and ring that bell, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Book Chat. Go ahead and ring that. We have a little bit of back feed. There we go. All right, so go ahead and ring that bell and subscribe so you don't miss anything. My name is Dee Armstrong. Some of you already know me. I'm a romance and suspense author. My books leave a fingerprint on your heart. I'm not only a writer, I'm a grandma, a teaholic, a gardening ninja, and I love to talk about books with my book-loving friends. Pour a cup of tea or your favorite decaffeinated beverage, I don't judge, and wrap some chocolate and let's chat. Today we are spilling on Cornered by USA Today best-selling author Suzanne Ferrell. Now, a couple book reviews. I pulled these off of Goodreads really quick this morning, and Woodsdatsy said, I loved everything about this book. You can see how much research the author has done into the historical fact. I love the setting, how the relationships were in those days. There's only one intimate scene in the whole book, but you can feel how much they feel for each other and so many other things. And then Mari says, Suzanne Ferrell knows how to write a story. Amy says, I love this whole series. It's well-researched and the characters are well-written, and it's different from any other story currently being written. And I would like to welcome to our stage, Suzanne Ferrell. Woo!
Hello.
Someday I'm going to have confetti drop. Thank you for joining us, Suzanne. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Tell everybody a little bit about you.
I am a mother and grandmother, and I am a retired OB nurse. I worked 35 years taking care of new mothers, new babies, and delivering babies. And then while I was doing that, I started writing. I've been an avid romance reader since I was probably 12, and I raided my aunt's closets where they kept all their books hidden from my grandparents. And I would bring home a bag of books every year, and my whole summer would be spent reading. And then I started writing while my kids were young, and it took about 15 years before my first book was published. And then I started becoming an independent author. Sort of stumbled upon that. My daughter was a young mom. She wanted to work from home. She was also a graphic artist. And I said, well, I have these books that New York doesn't seem to want to publish. And there's this new thing about independent publishing. And how about if you make me a couple covers, we'll put the books out, and then you can use that as a platform to bring in all these newer authors who are wanting to do this. And she did that for Kidnapped and Hunted, which are my contemporary Edgar's family books. And darned if the things didn't sell. So
awesome.
So I write that book series. I write a small town contemporary series, which takes place in a town I made up and stuck southeast of Amish country in Ohio. And it's a quirky town, and then things happen because I can't apparently write a book that doesn't have dead people in it or something. And then I got somebody came to me with a project, and I ended up writing these World War II books.
And World War II, I have to tell you, I feel like it's the thing right now. There's two great World War II shows on Apple Plus, and so your books are just timed amazingly well. It seems like a lot of people are really talking about World War II and getting back into what happened back then. Now, I have some author accolades, and I would like to make Suzanne blush by sharing how absolutely fabulous she is. Not only is she a USA Today bestselling author, but Suzanne, as you know, discovered her reading as young as a teenager from getting books from her aunt's library. She's the author of 20 novels. Well, I guess it's not your aunt's library, it's her stash, right? We all have our reader stashes, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's the author of 20 novels, an Amazon bestseller for both her series, the Edgar's Family novels and the Weston series. Her books have finalized in the National Reader's Choice Awards, Seized in 2013 and Vanished in 2014. She's also a double finalist in the Romance Writers America's 2006 Golden Heart with her manuscripts Kidnapped and Hunted. Kidnap is a long contemporary category, and Hunted was in the romantic suspense. And you, goodness girl, you are prolific. She's currently working on more books for her Edgar's Family, Kidnapped, Hunted, Seized, Vanished, Exposed, and Masked and Drained. Now, those are all out, right?
Yes.
Great. And then her Neptune's 5, which we have 3 of them out, Shanghaied, Tracked, and Cornered. And then she's got this really great series called the Weston series, Close to Home, Close to the Edge, Close to the Fire. I love it when an author does this, when they make the titles go together so you know that they belong in the same series. It's super, super smart. And Suzanne, whether telling her stories are either on, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Suzanne's stories, whether they're her on the edge of your seat, romantic suspense, or the heartwarming small town stories or historical suspense novels, will keep you thinking about her characters long after Happily Ever is achieved. And she is doing something very special for us today. She is giving away a signed book, a signed copy of her book Cornered, for free to one lucky reader. Now, on YouTube and on Facebook, in the show notes, there's a link where you can sign up for Suzanne's book for free. And I'm also throwing in one of my books because we all love to read, My Visions of Emerald. But you can sign up on the YouTube link to get your autographed copy. And we're giving away one of each of these to one lucky winner. Plus, you can sign up for Suzanne's newsletter or the Spill the Tea newsletter for book releases and book news, so you are not out of touch with anything she is doing or I am doing. But all you book-loving friends, please say hello in the chat. We'd love to know if you could join us. It's always more fun when you put your comments and ask questions. Oh, and then Casey says hello from Virginia.
Hi, Casey.
Hey, Casey. And we have Leah Cagley saying howdy. Now, I know Leah. Leah is out in Colorado, and she is an awesome, awesome reader, and we really appreciate her support.
I have a daughter in Colorado.
Do you really? Where in Colorado?
She's in Pagosa Springs.
Okay, down south, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I grew up in Colorado. That's my home state, I guess you'd say. All right, let's talk about Cornered. Set in Casablanca, Morocco, in July 1941, Chief Petty Officer Warren Smith is on a mission for the undercover Neptune 5 team to map out safe passage up the Sabu River in Morocco to a crucial airstrip without their drawing the attention of the Vichy French Navy or the Nazi soldiers stationed in the area. Enters Elizabeth, Betty Devereaux, a missionary nurse with a secret. I love a woman with a secret. She knows the Sabu River and needs to deliver life-saving medical supplies to the Bedouins living along the shores. She agrees to guide the Follies crew up the river. As Betty and Chief navigate the treacherous waters of Morocco, they find themselves drawn into each other, despite the dangers threatening to tear them apart. And then the book cuts to November of 1942, and America has entered the war. And on the eve of Operation Torch, the invasion of Morocco, Chief and the Neptune 5 team has another mission to find and save Betty, and they fear she's landed in the hands of the Nazi SS. Now, Suzanne, how did you get the idea for this story?
I was reading a lot of nonfiction, and I had already written the first 2 books, Shanghaied and Tracked. And I wanted, those take place in America. And I wanted this team to now move as we entered the war. I wanted them to move into the theater of the African theater of war, which came before America went into Europe. We actually went to sort of a practice run for us because we'd not been in a big war like this for a while, and they wanted to go in and help in Africa. So they were going to be part of this. I knew there was an operation for them to land. It was called Operation Torch, and I was reading the books about it. And I thought, well, how's my little team going to be part of this? And I stumbled across a book called 12 Miles something. And it's a nonfiction book, and it talks about this river, the Sabo, and how there is a airport landing area there, only one on concrete in the desert there, heavy enough to carry all of to support all the supply depot, the weapons, and the planes that the Allies would need to land. But it's a really treacherous river to get to that. The Sabo is. It twists, it turns, it has sandbars. And you had to know somebody to do this. I thought, oh, this would be great. My guys could get in there and plan this all out. Only problem was there was actually a guy that did this. And I thought, oh, great. I don't want him to be it. I want a heroine to be it. You know, I'm kind of playing my plots along. And gosh, the guy got captured and sent to France at the exact same time. Be there. Yippee, I was my heroine. So it's one of those where I was fascinated by the tale I'd never heard of. And yet the time before we entered the war, I could send my people over there ahead of time because they're spy chasers, and now they're going to kind of be like spies. And
Yeah.
they work on this. Yeah, they work on this ship. It's a trawler. They don't dress like Navy guys. They dress like fishermen. You know, they've got beards and scraggly hair, and they're in the 1940s kind of costumes. And so their idea is they just travel around. They're fishermen, and they can go in and come out and get information that, you know. So
I'm sorry,
that's how I
could you
came up
repeat?
with that one.
Oh, that's awesome. And they could get any information they wanted because they were undercover, right? You know, they
Right.
just looked like someone fishing.
But they still needed someone to navigate them up this river. And
Mhm.
Betty's been there long before. She's been a nurse there in Africa for a while. She's not a young heroine. He's not a young hero. They're in there. He's the oldest member of the crew, so he's close to 40. He's been in the Navy long before World War II came along. He's traveled the world. She's been a nurse for a while. She's probably, I think in my head, she's about 35, 36. So she's not young. She's been there a while. She's traveled. She knows the area, and she's been up and down this river doing her nursing kind of work.
Mhm. They're great characters. Now, the two main characters, like you just said, is Warren Smith, who you call Chief. Everyone has a nickname, and I love that. I love giving nicknames to characters. He captains the Folly. He's a descendant of the pirate Blackbird. And then, we have Betty Devereaux, the missionary nurse. And then you have Captain Zach Neptune Edgars, and he's the leader of the team. And you have Sophie Moore, the only female that's on the team in this book. And those are the two main characters from Shanghai.
Yes.
Great. I thought so. And they have such a great relationship. You can even feel their relationship in this book. And that's talent to do that because it flowed over between both books. I just love that. And then we have Sean Scout. Is it Hannon? How do you say
Hanahan.
this? Hanahan. He grew up poor in the mountains of Kentucky, silently hunting prey to feed his family. He's the youngest member of the spy chaser team, and he functions as both their tracker and sniper. And he's in book 2, Tracked.
Right.
And I know I'm not supposed to say who I like yet, but I really liked this guy. He just seemed to have a very calm, laid back way about him, and then when it came to getting the job done, he went and did it and then came back. I really liked him. Okay, so now we know when we get to the favorite part, he's my favorite. And then we have Teddy Boston Green, who starts almost every sentence with some form of a curse. And he doesn't have a book yet, right?
He is going to be book 4.
Book 4. Okay, well, I'm going to start doing this. I loved this. I'm like, start every sentence with a curse. I can get into that one. I have to tone it down around the grandkids, but I thought he was great too. And then we have Lieutenant Finnegan, the cowboy McDaniel, the team's second in command. He grew up riding horses in West Texas, and I'm assuming he's book 5. I'm
Yes,
hoping
he will
he's
be
book
book
5.
5. He's only 5 books planned because it's Neptune's 5 and there's 5 guys. So his book will be the last book. And
Well, I
he
absolutely
is,
love him.
yeah, he is very laid back. He's very intelligent. He speaks numerous languages, and he even worked on learning Arabic for this mission. So he's been fun with that. We're going to have a surprise in the 4th book where another character is actually going to have a secret language nobody knew he spoke. But I'm not going to tell you any more about that. But it just came to me the other
Okay,
day.
okay.
Oh, that makes sense.
Oh, that's cool. I love it when you get those epiphanies. They happen at the craziest times. I won't dig into that because I know that you want to keep things fresh for the readers. Okay, so my favorite character, we now know, was Scout. When you were writing it, who was the character that was the most fun? Is there one character that stood out as the most fun to write, or one that connected really to you as an author?
um, it's funny because each book that whoever comes to the forefront, then I'm really focused on them and
Hmm.
what their quirks are. Um, Scout is from a little place called Grundy, Virginia. And the reason even know about Grundy, Virginia is my parents are from Eastern Tennessee and they moved to Columbus. There was a mass migration out of in the 50s. And this, their names were sure. I've known them my whole life. And they just have that real thick accent, you know? And
Hmm.
Sean just sort of fit into that. He had to be, he's on this team with 2 guys that graduated from the Naval Academy. He's on this team with a guy who's a real big engineer, knows everything mechanical, and that's Boston. And Chief, who's, die-hard naval guy, and kid from the mountains. And he just had to fit in. He had to be that other person. So he knows all about hunting. He's very um, modest. I mean, he's not going to be arrogant. He's not going to be in your face. So he's not that alpha male, but yet he's
Hmm.
very strong in who he is, and he knows his skills. And he's very confident in his skills. I mean, he's been working as a tracker, tracking food. He learned he could carry a shotgun longer before he could actually probably walk. I mean, he'd been hunting that long with his father, and
Hmm.
a lot of kids that grew up in that era, that's what they did. Hunting and fishing, that was normal in the Appalachians. I mean, you had to
Hmm.
supplement your food somewhere.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of based him, I think, a little bit on my daddy. He grew up kind of that way. He kind of had that quiet confidence, that this is, you do what has to be done and you get on with it. And I liked
Hmm.
that about him. Um, and he was very polite to his heroine, who you meet and tracked. She is just the sweetest thing, and she is almost as good a tracker as he is. So, he had somebody that could do the things that he did and like to do the things that he did. So he wasn't going to be falling in love with some fancy person. He needed somebody who's sort of down to earth. And
Hmm.
she was kind of raised that way. Her father was a colonel, and she was raised kind of.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm hoping you come back there, Suzanne. We've lost our connection for
No,
just a minute.
you're going to.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Mhm.
We're back. Okay. We're back. You were saying that that they were kind of meant for each other because they complemented each other with both being trackers, and that they were both down to earth people.
And I use the title for tracked in a couple of ways because she is a code breaker. That's how she
Mm.
met Sophie, who was learning to break codes to be on the team. And so they met there, and she gets a message, and one twin brother is sending her a message that her other twin brother is in trouble because the spies are going to try and blow up the tanks, and tanks run on tracks. So they're not only tracking the spies, but we've got the new tank division involved in that. And so uh, that all worked together that way.
I love it. And one thing you said that really resonated with me was how he reminded you of your father. And I think that it is so important to pass these traits down to our children, but also to readers. These traits that are so important to being good people through our characters. And I love that you married your father into him. Um, Now, another favorite character I had in this one was Betty. Man, she owned those boys on that boat. She had her own mission, her own goals. She was tough, and I really enjoyed how she had such a great reputation of her own. The locals uh, believed in her. She had helped them, and they wanted to help her and protect her. And I loved that she was her own woman. You know what I'm saying?
I think that comes from being a nurse
Mhm.
and working and I hope I come back. Um, that were very confident, strong women. And I think nurses have the reputation mostly of being the most respected career in America. Some poll somewhere said that, and I truly believe it because majority of nurses are there not because it's a good salary. I mean, it is these days. It wasn't when I came out, and
Mhm.
you're there to care for people, but you also have to be strong. You have to know what needs to be done. Need to know when you need to step in to either protect the patient from family or
Mm.
from themselves or from physicians that aren't really sure what the heck they're doing. Um, and I think that that is one of the reasons that she is able to do that. She's been there a while. She's been out on her own. She's not living at home. She's had to figure out how to fend for herself. Even though she's working with a missionary group, she's still in a foreign country and had to learn the language. She's had to learn how to convince people in a male dominant society that she.
Okay. I think that I'm not sure if I'm frozen or
There we
Suzanne's
go again.
frozen. There we go. You're back. Yay! She was in a male-dominated society, and she had to
Yay.
convince people.
Yeah,
Okay,
she had to convince the men that she was there to help them, and to
mhm,
take care of them, and that sometimes she might know better than they did.
definitely,
So
definitely,
I
and
think
that's
that when the Neptune 5 guys came through, when the team came through, they were also sort of used to having Sophie there, who doesn't take much crap off of them either. And then she shows up and she's able to, kind of, they're kind of had to take on a second one like that. So it's been kind of fun for them.
and they just keep, in each I like how in each book their team grows, and I think that's really nice too. You get to see how more people bring in more skills and different skills, and the men are learning to deal with different types of personalities and more women. I think that that's wonderful. And I love books that have strong men and strong women. I think it's so important. Let me get this other comment to go across. Kathy says, I'm about halfway through reading Cornered and I'm loving it. I adore stories where the hero makes unflattering assumptions about the heroine and she makes him eat his words. I love that. That's great, Kathy. Thank you for putting that comment in. Um, let's go back. Oh, what part made your heart race? Well, I'll tell you what part made my heart race as a reader. And that was when she, of course, was Betty was taken by the Nazis, and she was being tortured and interrogated. And I just was like, man, she is so much tougher than I would be. I would be the biggest wimp. Not. I don't think I would fold, but I would be praying hard for things to be over. And she was just so strong. She was really strong, and he raced to get her. And I loved that part in the book. You could really tell that their connection, even though it was brief in the beginning and built through the letters that they sent back and forth, their connection was strong. How did you feel writing that part in the book?
Um, I've developed this thing since I wrote the book Hunted, where I sometimes have these scenes that are emotionally hard for the heroine. It's usually if there's a place where she has to physically go through something horrible. I find it's best to write a sentence at a time and walk away and come
Mhm.
back, because it pulls so much emotion out of me as the writer and me as the reader, and then the characters. So those are, I didn't want to sell it short. I didn't want to say, oh, she's just captured. These were not nice people. These
Mhm.
were, I had read a bunch of nonfiction stories about the women who were OES agents in France for that were captured by the
Mhm.
Nazis, and they were tortured. They were killed. Only I think 8 of the 25 survived that were
Wow.
captured. And I could have that number quite off, but I believe there was only 8 that survived. And so I knew that she wasn't going to be captured and just hanging out. They needed information from her, and she knew if she hung on
Mhm.
long enough, then um, and she didn't want to give up the people that were helping her, the Bedouins that were helping her. So she just kind of hung in there, and I think her love for Warren and the things that they said to each other in their letters and being able to play those over in her head, that helped her to get
Mhm.
kind of come to the, you're going to give us information or we're just done with you, at the point where
Mhm.
he shows up. And so it had to be that you want that kind of ticking bomb thing to come through there. And ticking clock, I guess.
Mhm.
And then my son says I had this thing. He's a Ludlum fan. I got him hooked on reading Robert Ludlum when he was a teenager. And at this point where you start having all these short little scenes, it helps to give the pace, gives the intensity, and that things have to move along. And so
Mhm.
when you have a hero, a heroine, and Jeopardy, and then you have this bad guy, and then you also have other members of the team who you can show their aspect, it makes it all move faster. So I like writing those. He
Definitely.
calls
That will
he calls it getting my Ludlum on.
There you go. Well, you did a great job to it job at and then I learned so much about selling and boats in your book. Do you sail, or was that all through research?
That's all through research. I do have a friend, she's an author, Elizabeth Essex, who
Mhm.
is a bio a marine biology person. She spent years on boats. I mean, maybe as a
Uh-huh.
marine archaeologist. Anyway, she knows all about boats. So I would send her something, go, okay, this is aft and this is port and this is up and this is down. And then I would pull up the trawlers and kind of visions of picture. Now, modern day trawlers are different than the 1940s trawlers. So I had to pull up images of 1940 trawlers, and I had to figure out that. And then I also, my favorite tool is Google Maps, especially if you're
Uh-huh.
running a place you have never been in your life. And I'm looking at Google Maps and trying to figure out what's there now, what was there in 1940, where to put
Mm.
my boats and where to put my people. And I wanted my guys to have to go through this mountainous terrain, and I needed a sniper place to stick Sean. There's no trees to stick Sean in. I mean, even the mountains don't have a lot of trees. I'm used to Appalachian Mountains and the Rocky Mountains. There's trees.
Uh-huh.
There's no trees. There's just rocks. But there's caves and there are small oases. So I had to play with the map stuff. And you look, my husband will walk in here and I'm just staring at the maps. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm trying to figure out where to put my people." And he goes, "Well, just, no, it has to be specific." And I have this problem in every book I write. I have to pull up a map and figure out, well, except the Western books, I make those up. But the Edgar's, I'm studying Western Virginia for the new book.
Mm.
But it's fun because then I can also pick up the picture of where I want him to be. And I can put that little man on the road and have him look around and you get to see where he's looking at. So then you can describe it because you can now see it. And what you want to do sometimes doesn't work. There was no trees in the mountains to hide Sean. And then when I needed him to be a sniper in the city, there's no trees. But there were tall buildings there with the flat tops
Mm.
of the buildings that are built in Morocco. Where
Mhm.
they would go up and sleep in the cool at night. So he could go up in those balcony kind of areas and do his job.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I have a question from a viewer. Connor would like to know if you could sit down with one of your characters, either just to chat or give them a piece of your mind, which would you choose?
Now, are we talking just the uh, the
It can be
Neptune's Five boys?
any character that comes to mind that you want to talk about.
Hmm. I think my favorite one would, because he's so hard to talk to and you have to draw him out, would be Frank Costello from Exposed, from the Edgar's books. He's a
Mm.
U.S. Marshal, and he's a man of few words. And writing him and his heroine were difficult because he answered everything in one word syllables. And she caught on to it. She'd ask a question and he'd start maybe with two words and then be one word. And then there was a grunt. And she'd think, okay, now we're in caveman time. And so she'd start answering questions. She'd start asking questions in one word questions. And he got it. She got him. And so they actually were fun with that way. But I think he is, he is that character that I would like to strangle him, that he was so hard to pull all these words out of. Like, talk to me. You got to give me more than this. And he just wouldn't. And um, but he was a strong man. He comes into the Edgar's family in book 2. He's the U.S. Marshal that's supposed to be the Witset uh, person for Katie when her cover gets blown. And he they just sort of pull him in and he becomes part of the family. He's their like adopted brother. And he shows up and when you need him, he does his job and he does what he needs to do. And um, he hates photographers because they've always screwed up his witness protection people. They're a pain in the back.
Uh-huh.
So of course his heroine was a fashion photographer. And he has to, they meet at a wedding. One of the Edgars is getting married. They meet at the wedding. He offers to take her home because everybody else is leaving and she's got all this equipment and stuff. And he's like taking her home and they get to her house and it blows up.
Uh,
And so now he's stuck with her. What am I going to do with her? Obviously somebody's trying to kill her and they blew her house up. So they're stuck with each other. And that's how her house is blown up. She's got to stay somewhere. And he happens to have safe houses all over the place. How he has all these, I think I explained it once, but I still wonder how he has all these safe houses.
I just think that's great. I went to take her home, but her house blew up, so I'm stuck with her now. That's so funny. Oh my gosh, Suzanne. That's great. That's absolutely great. Now, I understand that creativity runs in the family. Talk about your daughter, Lindsay.
Lindsay, her name is Lindsay Llewellyn, and she is the daughter that did the covers for me for my books. And she developed an entire business doing independent book covers, or book covers for authors, mostly independent authors. She does work with the Thule, and she's now working with Enclave, which is really cool because Enclave is about to publish. I'm so excited for her very first novel. It is a YA um, dystopian, let me get it right, dystopian story that takes place in 2224 Texas. Think Mad Max comes to Texas. It's a
Mhm.
clean novel. So you can read it, your teens can read it, and it's like boom, 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 action packed. It's got um,
All right, Suzanne's frozen for just a sec, but I wanna say that I know that Lindsay is absolutely fantastic.
yeah, and we're very excited. So this book comes out in April. She is doing a big order giveaway because it's on pre-order.
Mhm.
And she's got some character cards that she did the artwork herself. And they look like 1990s cartoon action characters. And then she's got a colored map she's giving away of Texas in this time period with the dome city. It's really cool. Um, and then she's got a couple of other things that I know about that she's giving away, but I can't tell anybody because she
Okay.
hasn't done it yet. But those are all coming in the next 6 weeks. So if people want to pre-order her book, they can get in on that. And it's a fabulous story, and the characters, um, and the world she paints and gives you, you not only see it, you can taste it, you can feel it. She's fabulous, and I'm not just saying that because I'm her mom. I mean, it really, even the Kirkus reviews, people were like, "Oh my gosh," and they don't always give great reviews. So she's doing really well with it. We're all very excited for her.
Yeah, I'm excited because she's going to be our April Spill the Tea author. And I mean, everything this girl touches is just gold. Her book covers are beautiful. I've looked at her book cover. She's going to be doing a book cover for me, my home run book cover. And also her website is professional and beautiful, and you can get the feel of the book from the website. I always love that. She has
Yeah.
talent just running through her veins. I'm very excited to read her book when it comes out in April. Now I'm going to spill on some beautiful, awesome writing by Suzanne. Here are a few of my favorites, and this is one of my this is hands down my favorite part of Spill the Tea is when I get to share the awesome writing because that's what it's all about for me is the writing. And I knew from the first paragraph that I was in for a great read with Cornered because listen to this, you guys. The oppressive heat wafted through the air on waves, like on waves. And I'm messing it all up. Sorry. The oppressive heat wafted through the air like waves on the ocean, and the sun hadn't reached the zenith of the day yet. Chief Petty Officer Warren Smith wiped his handkerchief over his forehead and across the back of his neck to mop the sweat away as he sat beneath the cloth awning they'd stretched over the Folly's rigging to give some shade to the old trawler's deck. He shoved his kerchief back into his trousers and trouser pocket and surveyed the surroundings. Around him, life swarmed like flies around a whale's carcass he'd once seen beached on the banks of the Duck Island in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Now, I apologize in messing that all up. But the big part for me in that was seeing the comparison that was made between the life around him swarming and the uh, the the whale's carcass on the banks of Duck Island on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Plus, Suzanne brought all the senses into the read. In this paragraph, she talks about the scent in the air spoke of exoticness of the place. The fishy salt air common in the coast and all the coastal towns mingled with the heavy spices from the food cooked on the open air grills from the of the little soup. souk. Lamb turgeons with cinnamon, turmeric, cumin made his mouth water. The lemon and expensive saffron in the couscous coaxed him to want to sample the wares, and brought back memories. And then this is an awesome character description. He might speak with a slow Texas drawl, but the man was whip smart and fast as lightning in a squall. Another character description, and this is about Betty. Strode was the perfect word for the woman's stride. She didn't glide like some women did, or take small dainty steps, as a very submissive woman might. No, she moved like a boat cutting through water, or a soldier expecting everyone to make room for her. And they did. And then she writes about a look. Now, this is a look we can all relate to. She blinked and fixed her gaze on the crew's leader, the same gaze her mother would give her and her siblings when they weren't quite answering her questions. And we've all seen that gaze from our mothers, haven't we? And then this one. This mission wasn't to stop spies. This time, their team was the spies. That's a drop the mic moment right there, Missy. I loved that. Now we're on to our book giveaway. Again, in the show notes, you can enter to win Cornered by Suzanne and Visions of Emerald by me. And I will announce the winner in our Book Loving Friends Facebook group. You can message me your address and I'll send out the books, or I guess I contacted the last winner through email. Congrats to last month's winner, Linda K. She was our January winner, and she won A School for Unusual Girls and Visions of Emerald. Now, I'd like to talk about why Spill the Tea. Before we end, I'd like to share with you why I started Spill the Tea. I want to grow as a writer, and part of that journey is reading books written by other people. Reading great writing, sometimes extraordinary writing that crawls inside of you and becomes a part of you. I could have read books by myself and said, that was awesome, but I wanted to share with my book-loving friends and have fun with it. If you enjoyed Spill the Tea today, share, like, tell your friends, because books are more fun when you share them with someone you love. Our next Spill the Tea is on March 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are spilling on Healing the Soul of a Woman by Joyce Meyer. And I actually had the 90-day devotional that I did and the book. Now, this book, I'm doing it by myself, and this book was personal to me, and that's why I'm spilling directly with you about how this book changed my life. Within 6 years, I lost my father, my mother, and then I lost my little brother. And I was broken. And this book helped me to heal. And if it can help me, I know it can help you or someone you know too. And I'd like to tell you some of the things that I did to heal, the journey, a little bit about my journey, and really give you the gift of connecting to something bigger than yourself. But most of all, today I would like to thank Suzanne Ferrell for not only joining us, but taking us back in time to 1941 and 1942 on a grand adventure in her book Cornered. And Suzanne, I really appreciate your time with us today. You have been a joy. You have been a joy. And you come back anytime, girlie. I had such great fun with you. I really did. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in and chatting with us about great books. You guys are the best. I appreciate every single one of you. And I'll put the kettle on for next time. Bye for now, everybody. Hugs. Bye-bye. Bye, Suzanne.
Bye.
See you next time.